Hey everybody, Happy New Year. Here we are in 2024, and I am starting off the new year right by having a wonderful case of COVID. So that's exciting. My husband was tested positive on New Year's Eve, and I was like, all right, here we go. So I just started feeling not so great yesterday, and I really didn't want to cancel today. I've been so far just really fatigued and sore throat, but I'm able to sit in a chair and I can't get you sick. So we can do this for an hour, regardless of health. I'm really happy that I'm here with you guys. And I have a guest speaker today named Jenna Lane, who's going to share how she got into learning and development. And I'm going to hand it off straight to her.
Thank you so much, Sharon. I'm so sorry you're not feeling good. Hi, everybody. I'm Jenna. I'm really excited to be here talking to you guys about my journey from teaching to instructional design and learning and development. Um, I just looked at the calendar. I'm 1 month short of being 2 years out of the classroom. So I actually left the classroom in February of 2022. And I know leaving mid-year scared a lot of people. It definitely scared me. I'll get to why I made that decision. But to start out, I wanted to be a teacher my entire life. Basically, by fourth grade, I had the college picked out I wanted to go to, and did everything to kind of prepare myself for the classroom from there. I volunteered any chance I could get. I took childcare classes in high school. And by the time I got to college, I actually was a triple major in elementary education, middle grade social studies, and middle grades literacy. It sounds a lot more impressive than it actually was. I had a lot of classes that cross counted and did take summer classes, did have some heavy semesters, but that kind of got me to that triple major. My first job out of the classroom was teaching fifth grade at a school in Wisconsin. I did teach at private Christian schools for my entire career, my entire 4-year career. Not a super long career, but I did enjoy it while I was there. It was in August of 2021 that I started to go for my master's. And prior to that time, I had actually wanted to go for my master's in gifted education. And for some reason, that summer leading up to starting my master's in the fall, I was like, I don't know if I really want to do gifted education. Like, there's not a lot of positions in the schools I was working in for that. So something made me rethink, and I settled on instructional design. And as I was doing research, I fell in love with Purdue University's program for learning design and technology. So that's what I ended up enrolling in August 2021. I had no intentions of leaving the classroom at this point. I was full to do this master's just to learn how to be a better teacher and design better curriculum, better lessons. I started the program. My first project, I created a math unit for my fifth graders at the time. I taught fifth grade all 4 years. And so I'd started this program with the intention of staying in teaching. So what changed that was a lot of COVID related things. I had been very blessed to be in person aside from those last 6 months of the 2019-2020 school year, or 3 months of the year. Being in private schools, we kind of had the option to be in person or be remote, and we chose to be in person. That came with a lot of restrictions, like, all the desks had to be in rows facing forwards. You had to be wearing masks. And so after 2 years of those restrictions, it started being very heavy for a lot of people. And we had, just to keep this kind of light, basically we had an issue with some parents that there was a lot of issues going on. We wanted to find a solution to the issues, and unfortunately, as teachers, we're not being consulted or listened to. And all the issues that had kind of flowed into that just compounded to the fact that mentally, I couldn't stay in the classroom. So I was dealing with number one, just falling out of love with teaching, not with the kids, not with those good days, those good moments when you see the light bulb come on, or your kids really enjoy an activity, and you just, those things I still very much loved. But I was dealing with being the fifth grade teacher at a K-8 school and having a very traditional teacher teaching things like math in the middle school. So basically telling me that I needed to prepare the students for her and the way she taught, which was not the way I wanted to teach or thought I should teach. And so I wasn't teaching the way I wanted to teach. You had the increasing demands of curriculum with needing to fit so much in such a short amount of time, not being able to do activities that I believed were more effective or more engaging, and instead just trying to cram it all in just to fit the curriculum. So you had that. You had the learning loss from COVID. And then with this whole other issue, you also had parents. Really bad behavior from some students. And then parents who were unsupportive, and even in my situation, to the point of verbally and emotionally abusing and threatening. I had a parent who would constantly email me about things like tearing pages out of textbooks because he didn't agree with it, or like replacing the whole series, or wanting me to send him my lesson plans because he didn't trust what I was teaching, to basically threatening me with a lawsuit eventually later on. And with this whole situation, you have social media coming in on that. So we had parents commenting things on social media, saying things on social media about us. The situation at my particular school got so bad that the news was there twice. I really, really was trying not to leave in the middle of the year because I'm sure, like so many of you, I was thinking of the kids. I didn't want to leave the kids. I wanted to finish my commitment. But it got to the point where I was coming home crying every day and having so many panic attacks that I couldn't deal with it anymore. So I had to make the decision, and I made the decision over Christmas break in December 2021 to start looking for a different job. And I had started my master's in instructional design, and luckily in my program, it wasn't just focused on K-12. Each class kind of took different views of K-12, higher education, corporate. So I was kind of learning from my peers who weren't in the education space, and figuring out like, hey, I could probably do this. Like maybe this is something I could do. Aside from the kids, I really enjoyed designing my own stuff. So that's when I kind of started to look at that. Something that really helped me during that time, I found the teacher career coach course. I see some people nodding their heads, so it sounds like some people know what I'm talking about. And I made the jump just to purchase that, and I learned so much about translating my resume and having confidence in the fact that, I don't just teach kids. I also do project management. I do, we do instructional design every day. We do assessment, we do evaluation. So just learning about how you're not just a teacher. You have all of these extremely valuable skills that can translate to other contexts. So that course really helped me learn how to brand myself, essentially, and have confidence in the fact that I can do this outside of the classroom. So I started applying probably early December, really hit it during Christmas break, when I had time to do that, and just kept applying. I got some interviews, got a lot of rejections or ghosting. And eventually I did find a company that wanted me, and they loved the fact that I was a teacher, and they were really excited about the expertise that I would bring to the role. And so that's when in January, I told my principal that I would be leaving. I gave 3 weeks notice, as much notice as I possibly could, try to find a teacher. I told my kids, I told my families, I told sent my families this really heartfelt email. I tried to keep it as general as possible. Like I didn't straight up say the full reason I was leaving because I didn't think that would be professional. And what just kind of sealed the nail in the coffin is that email was sent to the news without my knowledge or consent and published on a major news station where I'm at, and listed me as the 5th grade teacher who wrote that, and got all sorts of really bad comments on social media. So that kind of made me think, yep, I made the right decision. Still don't know who sent it, but yeah, that that kind of sealed the fact that I'm making the right decision. Yes, the world is fun sometimes. Um, and encroaching on teacher autonomy, yes, it is a huge reason. So ultimately, I didn't leave because of the kids. I didn't even leave because of the behavior. That was going to be a factor the following year. The class that I was going to have the following year had some of the worst behavior in the school, and I was mentally preparing myself for it. And actually, what's kind of ironic is when I left the classroom, I had the best group of students I had ever had. From being in college, doing field experience through being a full-time teacher, I had the best and most well-behaved group of students. There were, obviously one or two here or there that had needs and behavior issues, but for the most part, I had the best group. And that's what made it so bittersweet for me, was because I hated leaving them. So the last day was super emotional. Cried a lot. I basically did no teaching that day. I just spent it with my kids. We just made memories. And I was really concerned about them. Like, I just wanted to make it as smooth of a transition as I could for them, especially since I was leaving mid-year. I left all my stuff in the classroom. I told my principal I'd come back during the summer to get it. I wanted them to have a stable environment when they had a new teacher. So, and something I learned, they bounced back. They were fine. They were sad. I was sad, but kids are resilient and they'll be fine. So my first job out of the classroom, getting to a little more happy stuff, I was a learning and development coordinator for a company called Urgently. They were a mobile roadside assistance company, still are, I shouldn't say were. And basically, I was hired because I was a teacher and I had curriculum experience. Their training department was made up of all people who worked their way up from the call center, and they were amazing people. But they were lacking some of that expertise that we bring as teachers when it comes to learning design and curriculum development. So they really liked that I brought that to the table. I actually started on the same day as another teacher, former teacher. So we started our first non-teaching jobs together right outside the classroom. She's now one of my best friends. I'm going to be in her wedding this year, and we have not met in person yet. So that's a fun story. So this was a fully remote role. That was something I was nervous about coming out of COVID. I hated teaching virtually during COVID, so I was nervous about how this would be. I actually really enjoyed it. It's much different when you're not trying to wrestle 10-year-olds to turn in their work over Google Classroom and you're just dealing with adults. So my role was kind of twofold. A lot of it was coming in and looking at the training that they currently had and making it more effective and engaging. So I had to learn a lot from subject matter experts. A lot of my fellow learning and development coordinators that had worked their way up from the call center were like, they knew what the call center needed. And so I learned a lot from them, and me and my coworker, who was also a teacher, we kind of tag teamed a new certification program because we wanted to certify our call center agents. So we put this together. We had 2 weeks to kind of put the majority of it together. And it worked out great. So part of it was doing a lot of design, and part of it was also facilitation. I did teach a couple of training classes for new call center agents a couple of times, which was probably the scariest part of the job because I had to demonstrate calls. So I did have to take a couple live roadside calls, which was really scary. But it worked out okay. Eventually myself and my coworker, who was also a teacher, we kind of proved that, teachers can do it. Teachers bring a lot of really great skills. And to the point where when we needed to hire again, they pretty much only wanted to look for teachers. So that was kind of awesome that we got to bring that and show that teachers can bring value. We did end up designing a training program for our first offshore call center. We got sent to Colombia and South America to go do some in-person training for them, which was really cool until I got COVID 3 days in. So I spent 10 days of the 14-day trip in my hotel room, which kind of, sucked. But Didn't get COVID while I was teaching, but did get it then. But eventually, I felt like I had learned all I could from that job. It was a phenomenal first start to learn the world of learning and development and instructional design. I was still in my master's during that time, and every class I had, I learned something new that I could apply right away on the job, which was awesome. But the time came where I'm like, I feel like I don't know where I'd advance from here. I've got other things that I really want to explore. I don't really want to do facilitation anymore. I had kind of honed in on what I wanted to focus on in instructional design. And that was kind of being behind the scenes and doing the designing part of it instead of doing the facilitation. So started looking for another role. Again, a lot of rejections and a couple of interviews, several ghostings where I'd like do an interview and try to follow up and literally hear nothing. But eventually I did get another role, and that's where I am now. I'm a little over a year in this company. I work for a consulting firm now that does leadership development, team effectiveness, executive coaching. Our motto is we want to help leaders navigate change so they can shape a better future. So what I love about this company is that every single person here fully believes in that mission. So it's not just make money, make money, make money. It really is, yeah, we need to make money, but we also do want to make a better future and a better world. So I started as a leadership solutions designer, and that was in our leadership development division. And basically what we would do is we'd work with clients who had leadership development needs. They had leaders who needed skills. They needed to either learn these skills or hone the skills. And so I'd get assigned different client projects and work with these clients to design these sessions. Some of them were in our portfolio. They'd buy the standard session. And so I'd work with them just to make sure that they understood what they'd be getting, letting them know what the facilitator would be doing. I'd meet with our coaches who would deliver these sessions, make sure they understood the material, walk through it with them. I'd be building draft decks, outlines, facilitator notes, and then luckily we have a graphic design department, so I don't have to deal with that part. I've got good basic skills. I do highly encourage you to brush up on some basic graphic design skills if you're interested in pursuing instructional design. Things like visual layouts, multimedia principles for what to include on slides, font pairings, things like that. I can't draw to save my life. So thank goodness we have an instructional or graphic design department that can make all of the beautiful images and icons and really make the decks come to life and look really beautiful. What I love about this company is that they truly want you to be creative. So even if we have standard portfolio modules, sometimes we have clients who want to tailor that a little bit or want something more custom. And so when they want to do that, I get to bring my creativity with, let's put an exercise here, or this might be more effective. Sometimes, like right now, I'm in the middle of designing a brand new module, and I have full creativity for what the narration is going to be, what is the story that we want to tell, what are the activities we want to do. And so that's really fun to bring that and be able to figure out how is this going to be most impactful and most engaging. So that's where I started. In May, I got the opportunity to switch over to our team effectiveness department. For a couple reasons, I think. One is that I was told I was identified as a high performer. They wanted me to get different opportunities to learn different areas of the business. And two, our team effectiveness department was a single person, and they needed someone else on the team to help him so he wouldn't drown. So I moved over there, fully intending to return to leadership development. I did a lot of the same things with some of the design aspects, but now I also kind of took on more responsibility and do some operations management. So that involves doing some communication with coaches and clients, tracking data, making sure everything's kind of going off without a hitch when it comes to working with teams versus individual leaders. And I ended up making the decision to stay in this role. So that's where I'm at now. We are a team of two. It's just my boss and me. So today was our first day back after having holiday break, and it was a little stressful, but it's exciting because there's a lot of fun stuff coming up. So as I've kind of evolved in my roles and finished up my master's, I graduated in May. I've figured out what I like doing, and what I like doing is not what I thought I'd like doing when I left teaching. I love the design aspect. I love strategizing and figuring out the puzzle pieces of what's going to be most effective, what's going to be most engaging. I also really like measurement and evaluation. I thought I'd hate it because I think data, I think standardized tests, and I hate standardized tests. But the more I learned about it, and the more I learned about how helpful it is to be able to measure behavior change, I fell in love with it. So that's kind of something that I'm also able to run with at my company. And yeah, I mean, it's been a great journey. I went through an identity crisis when I left teaching because that's all I ever wanted to be. Well, 8-year-old Jenna, everybody knew me as Jenna's going to be the teacher. She's the teacher. She's the teacher. And so when I left, I felt like I not only disappointed myself, but I disappointed a lot of other people, which wasn't true. So my advice, if you're in that place, is just let yourself grieve. So I was able to start my new job a week after I left teaching. So I gave myself a week of space to kind of process everything. So let yourself grieve, feel the feelings, cry, do what you need to do to process that, because in a lot of ways it is a loss. Get therapy. I love therapy. I have therapy once a month. I absolutely love it. It is a big change, and it's going to take some time for you to have confidence in yourself. It's a big change. We scared myself and my other former teacher colleague, our first week on the job, scared our manager because we were like, who do we have to tell if we need to go use the bathroom? And she was like, what are you talking about? You're an adult, just go. Wait, really? Like, we won't get in trouble? She's like, no, you're fine. Go to the bathroom. So it's a change, but also just have confidence in your abilities. The amount of skills and experiences I've been able to transfer, even from teaching 10-year-olds to teaching adults, sometimes very high level senior executive adults, you're going to be amazed at what transfers and what expertise you can bring, and what's valued. So have some confidence, leave some space for yourself to grieve. I see someone put a question: as a current visual artist. Oh yeah, that's definitely something of value, knowing Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign. I would encourage you to play around with as many tools as you can. Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign. I know Adobe has something called, is it Captivate? I think is their like course authoring tool. Captivate, Articulate Storyline. Get the free trial and play around with it. The interface is extremely similar to Microsoft PowerPoint, so it's not as intimidating as you think. Just start practicing. I think there's a website called Go Design Something where it gives you an instructional design prompt. Go to that website, get the prompt, and practice coming up with something for it. Just try to get an experience in as many tools as you can. I'd say Articulate, Adobe Suite, oh, what is the video thing? It starts with a C. Camtasia is another tool that is often cited in instructional design job roles. Microsoft, Google Suite have good, solid knowledge of those. Anything you can play around with, start doing that now so that you start getting familiarity. What did you say in the interview when they asked why you left? It depended on how I felt. I was honest without being too honest, and basically saying like, I was almost sued and, blah, blah, blah. I said that, I wanted a better work-life balance. my passions had changed. I was ready to be challenged more. So those were all very honest things. And I think they appreciated the fact that I was honest in that. Um, the biggest answer I gave most often is, I was just looking for a better work-life balance.
Mhm.
That met my skills, my interests. Um, yeah. Was it manageable to do your master's? It actually was. I'm going to do some promotion here, Sharon, if that's okay.
Oh, sure.
Uh, Purdue's Learning Design and Technology program. They have an in-person option, but they also have a fully online option. It was so manageable, both while I was teaching and while I was in the full corporate world. It is one 8-week class, one class every 8 weeks. It is designed for working professionals. Like, it's work, but I actually miss it. um, that program specifically, I'm really glad I chose just because of the depth and breadth of topics that you get. And how easy it was to be able to manage while I was working. So I'd say if you find the right program, it's 100% possible. And I loved it because everything I was learning, I could apply right away to the job I was in. Did they expect you to have experience in the field of the company? I was honest. On my resume, I had that I was an education professional for 4 years. And with that first job, luckily that's what they were looking for. So they would often ask me if I had experience designing learning experiences, designing curriculum, um, facilitating training. And all of that is a big yes. You facilitate every single day as a teacher. It's to 10-year-olds, not adults. One of the other questions I would often get is if I was familiar with adult learning theory. Um, I did, it rang a bell, but I wasn't sure about what it was. So I did quickly Google and I was like, oh yeah, I know what this is. So I would get up to date on that adult learning theory. It's not that different from pedagogy. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Jenna,
I would
uh,
say,
I'm going to open up some breakout rooms and give people some time to, if you guys want to go in a smaller room with Jenna, if you want to stay out and chat with me, if you don't know my back, I don't even think I introduced myself. Sorry about that. If you want to stay in the main room and chat with me, I know about higher education experience. So instructional design for higher ed courses. If you want to continue and chat with Jenna some more, you can go in the breakout room. I'm going to pause the recording here. Okay, I didn't introduce myself at the beginning of the video because I don't know, maybe COVID has not helped me think so much. My name is Sharon Chaden Burks. I'm really glad that you're here. Before we jump into our whole group Q&A, I want to make sure that you know our next session is going to be on Tuesday, February 6th from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern. And also last month, I was asked to share Transitioning to Learning and Development virtual conference. That link is in the agenda that I put in the chat earlier, but I'm going to re-put it here. They're asking for your input. They're creating a virtual conference that is going to take place January 29th through February 2nd, and they're asking for people's input on what they would like to hear about. So if that sounds interesting to you, please do contribute to that survey. Right now, I checked the website and it doesn't look like that they've solidified the sessions yet. So I think that they're really depending on people's input to form what kinds of sessions are being offered. So take a look at that, and I hope you help them out. And I think that we're ready for whole group Q&A. I really like that Jenna pointed out that your students go on. Their hearts go on, right?
it was a little bittersweet because I'm like, well, dang, I thought they'd be a little more hurt a little longer, but it was also kind of like, I'm glad they're okay.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, thank you guys for putting your profiles in the chat. That's really helpful for people. I'm gonna look back before. Something I mentioned to Kitaro, he asked for, graphic design. If you were not in the room at that time, I mentioned that I use in my work, we have a subscription to the Noun Project, which is a website that offers a variety of icons. And Dreams Time we use for stock photos. And then for my creative non-work life, I use Pond 5 for music.
Did you say the Noun Project?
Yeah. You want me to put a link in the chat?
Sure. Thanks.
It's kind of fun.
Pixabay is also really great for everything from sound effects to stock photos.
Like the thing that I like about the Noun Project is you can put in something weird, something really abstract, like role, ROLE. And I think it comes up with some really creative takes on what that might mean. Let me just share my screen since we're talking about it. You can put in something like frustration. And there's just a lot more available than is typical for, I don't know, like Creative Commons. If you're looking in Creative Commons, it's almost worth it to have a subscription for something that offers you so much variety that you don't have to make. So I really like the Noun Project. Go design something.
Yeah, I went and put that. That's the website that will give you an instructional design prompt. It gives you an audience, it gives you a brief, it gives you the deliverable and some inspiration. And it's just a way to like start practicing your skills
Cool.
and putting things together for your portfolio.
Awesome. Never heard of that one. Thank you, Jenna.
Real quick too, this is something that came up in kind of our little breakout room. I put together a website during my master's around the basics of instructional design. The initial goal was to help some of my colleagues who didn't have that experience better understand some of the stuff and be able to apply that in our work. But I have found that it's been really helpful for transitioning teachers too. One thing we talked about, different titles for the same role: instructional designer, learning experience designer, learning designer, learning and development coordinator, learning and development specialist. And there's so many things that fall under those headings. So this kind of breaks down some of the key parts of it. And I have some links in there as well to different courses or further readings that you might be interested in. So it's just a Weebly website. But hopefully that'll be helpful to some of you in some way, shape, or form.
I've really enjoyed anytime fellow educators or people who understand educators meet and talk about instructional design. Like, I appreciate this because I'm like slowly getting to the point where I'm like trying to get the software experience and so I can build up a portfolio and market myself for ID. But I just want to thank the presenters and thank everybody. But also ask, is this this is a monthly thing?
Mhm.
And do we have to register for it each month?
Yeah, so the way that I I never intended to continue to do this for 4 years, ha ha ha, but I enjoy it so much that I do. So it's a new registration for every month. If you want to make sure that you get the notifications, and the agenda that I sent you, I have a link to a MailChimp listserv where you can enter your email. And every month I make sure to push out the recording to everyone on that listserv so you're able to see the next session that's coming up. You can put a reminder in your calendar that it's always the first Tuesday of the month from 7 to 8 p.m. I'm pretty good about that. I did not do it last month because my kids were in a Christmas play and I was just losing my mind with all the practices and stuff. They did great. They had a good time, but I'm just so glad that that's over.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you for hosting. Could you link the MailChimp link that you're talking about, or is it in something else?
I can do that.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. All right, everybody. I think that brings us to the end. And I'm ready for bed. My poor body is like, what are you doing? I don't know. I took the day off work and I'm glad because I can't really think super clearly. And I was like, I can at least pull it together for an hour. And I'm exhausted by it. So I will hopefully see you guys all back here in February 6th. And if I don't see you or hear from you between now and then, stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll see you then. Thank you so much, Jenna. I really appreciate you sharing your story and your time with us.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Yeah, looking forward to connecting with all of you and hearing your exciting journeys.
Yeah. All right. Thanks all. Have an awesome
Thank
night.
you.
Bye.
Bye.